Yo, my name's Patrick Hanchek. Uh, I graduated from Sunset High School in 2010. After that, I went on to DePaul University in Chicago to the School of Communications and Digital Media, where I majored in computer game design. So the first couple years of college surprised me with how laid back like the schedule was and stuff. Compared to junior year, especially of high school, the constant classes and homework and everything and staying up real late every night, I was amazed how little work it was in college just because you spend so little time in class. Now that doesn't mean that you just pass all your classes, whatever. You still got to do the homework and stuff, but just being not in school, for 8 hours every day was an amazing stress lifter for me at any rate. I had very little trouble staying on top of my classes the first couple years, at least, until when I got into the later years. Then the actually difficult classes sort of kicked in, and then you're working hard again. But the other nice thing, though, is they were harder classes, but they were classes that I wanted to take because you get through with all of your requirements early on, and then it's only major related classes after that. So that was kind of nice. Part of the reason why I was able to get through my required classes early on was because of taking IB classes, and more accurately, the IB tests afterwards helped me, I guess, get enough credits so I didn't have to take, for example, I didn't have to take any science classes. I only had to take one math class, and I was able to get, I forget how many, but I was able to skip some of the entry-level writing classes as well. So that was pretty helpful. I didn't go for the full diploma when I was in Sunset, and to be honest, I don't feel like I missed out on anything by that. There was sort of a, like I said, I got credit for it, but I kind of had to work for it because people didn't seem to know what IB was. They expected AP. At DePaul, at any rate, they weren't really used to dealing with IB, so it took a little working with them to convince them that this was really a thing, and that I should get my credit for it. But besides those, I also minored in Japanese, and I took Japanese at Sunset, and I had learned enough there. I was able to kind of skip the first year of classes at college, so that was nice. Even though there wasn't really an IB sort of thing, it had its own testing protocols to skip that. But that was something else that my Sunset education helped me out with, rather than just going into it blind. Some other things that I think were useful, definitely, that I got at Sunset was just basic paper writing skills. I was amazed how many other people that I knew just didn't know how to sit down and write a paper. And that was so weird to me, because like, what sort of high school did you go to that you never had to learn that sort of thing? I mean, just like, the discipline of like, sit down on your computer and write it, and like how to do a bibliography. And I don't know, it surprised me how behind some of the other students seemed. Something else that I think Sunset kind of prepared me for, in a way, I guess, is sort of like the diversity of college, because again, I got the sense that a lot of other kids are coming from high schools that were very homogenous. Everyone was exactly like them. And Sunset is a pretty diverse place, I kind of realized. It's like I wasn't shocked to see people of other skin tones and sexualities. That wasn't a weird thing to me, because that was just sort of normal at Sunset. People are different, and we already learned that. It wasn't a new concept to me. More related to my actual major, which again was computer game design. I took a lot of technology classes, at Sunset. And even though we didn't end up really using, like, I took a Java class, and I don't think we actually ever did Java in college. So it wasn't like, the languages all the time matched up. But again, it's just getting the basic knowledge of how to program, which is something that other people who are coming into this, they didn't have that in their high school. So they had to start on the ground floor. So I kind of had, that leg up at the beginning over a lot of the other students. One thing specifically, sounds kind of silly, but Game Maker. That was our very first class. We only worked with it for that, that first class. We didn't do anything with it again. But just the fact that I had a fairly deep understanding of Game Maker, I was able to just breeze through that and do some really cool stuff that I think kind of gave me sort of a reputation going in as, oh, there's that guy. He already knows how to make games. And of course, then we moved on to other engines, and I had to learn them like everybody else. But it was kind of cool, to be able to say, yes, I actually have had experience with this. Oh, I've made a game like this in the past. Oh, I remember, doing an assignment almost exactly like this. I know how to do it, and I can put my own bells and whistles on it, and look cool and impress everybody. Which is important, because a big part of the game design program really is finding other people who are good at whatever their position, if it's artists or programmers or whatever, and making those connections with them so that you can get on a team with them and make some really cool stuff. Because for me, at any rate, it all came down to Capstone, where we spent almost a full year working on a single game with our single team, and that was some tough stuff. That's where the long nights and staying up and going to the lab all day kind of came back. But some of those connections that you make, they start when you make a good impression, just by looking like a guy who's competent, knows what's going on, and is not floundering around. So yeah, I would definitely say that a lot of the things I learned in Sunset, I was then able to apply in college. I went into a technology field, and I think it's really lucky how good of a technology program I had at Sunset, because again, I keep on saying this, but that's not everywhere. It really isn't. And I knew a lot of other kids coming in who had only, they've been either trying to self-teach themselves or just, I don't know what it was, but they didn't have that kind of thing. So yeah, I guess thanks, Sunset. And if you guys are watching this and thinking about pursuing a career in game design, DePaul is an option. They've got a really nice program there, and they've got some outstanding alumni. This guy.